They say love is blind. What other emotions have disabilities? Lust has Alzheimer's. But how? What do you mean? It means when you have lust for someone, you forget all the bad things about them. Like in abusive relationships, the partner can be terrible, but it doesn't matter, you forget it or switch blame. I read it as if your lust for someone is strong enough, you can potentially forget about those you care about, i.e. cheat on a significant other, because in the heat of the moment they don't occur to you. Didn't think about that. I think it can go both ways. Fear is dyslexic and bored has ADHD. Why is fear dyslexic? You can't read the situation properly. Oh, that's clever. Yep, that was a good example of being dyslexic. It actually wasn't intentional, lol. Anger is deaf, you can't listen to reason. Spot on. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. I think that sometimes it's good to be angry, not to be confused with rage or what one does in anger. It shows that you do care about something, that it's important to you. Hunger has Tourette's syndrome. Anxiety too. This one is underappreciated. What is Tourette's syndrome? People with Tourette's tend to have uncontrollable tics. You can see for yourself, there should be videos on YouTube. A syndrome that makes people swear a lot, even when they don't want to. At least that's the common translation. In fact, Tourette's syndrome makes people say things they didn't want to in general, like secrets, awkward stuff and lots of swearing, calling names. Edit. As pointed out by many different people now, I stated it wrong the first time. This happened due to me referring Tourette's syndrome towards the joke that has been made, hence why my explanation wasn't doing the syndrome justice. To be clear, Tourette's syndrome enhances certain tics for people until a level they don't have control of. Those tics are often motoric tics. Only 10% of people with the syndrome experience the vocal tics enhancement. It's only those people that tend to say things they don't necessarily want to. Angriness increases the possibility of the vocal tic to turn out into swearing or calling names. However, this doesn't have to be the case. With proper anger management, the vocal tic can be partly fixed. This way the person having it, combined with Tourette's syndrome, doesn't necessarily swear to people. The joke is about hunger and being angry because of it, thus people swearing and calling each other names, while once they have had their meal, they make it up. Depression is mute. Edit. For everyone saying depression isn't an emotion, some of them surprisingly rudely. Depression. Noun. Feelings of severe despondency and dejection. That the silence of depression can eventually become deafening in some instances. When you withdraw, people who love you miss you. They start to notice the lack of your presence. And suicide, there is such an empty void filled with pain because you're not there anymore. That kind of silence is incredibly loud when it comes to emotional pain and loss. I just hope we come to understand that someone cannot just snap out of it, and hopefully we as a society will get a better grasp on how to reach out to someone going through depression without telling them to snap out of it. Yeah, my inner voice is really negative during my depressions. I wish it were mute. Think of it as not your voice, but your brain pushing words out. It's a script you have to listen to, unless you choose to stop listening. I can't find a good analogy, but that voice is not yours. In my head, I used to hear screaming and thought I wasn't depressed. Sounds crazy, I know. I've had a miserable path. I've been through extreme chronic pain and self-inflicted forced torture. Pushing myself until I was shaking and throwing up almost every day because my parents told me I can't not work. Things are a bit better now, but my voice was dark. Until I tried an antidepressant. I only needed one to change my mind forever. I did use them for a few months, then tapered off, and for the most part I've had control over that voice ever since. The first day though, I woke up and heard silence for the first time. Silence is peace for me. I will always remember that day. I wish you the best of luck, my friend. Happiness will come for us both. Pride is tasteless. Puns, quips, jokes. What do you call a dick with a lot of pride? Egotistical. Would that be a narcissistic scrotum? Say that 3 times fast. Testicular hubris? I taste pride all the time, especially when truckers grinding against my hairy Mariana Trench. Ain't for long though, cause him pulling Jake brakes, not trying that relationship business. I have found the weirdest comment I've ever seen on Reddit, I think. Probably just cause I don't get the reference. He seems to be talking about driving a truck and having other truckers trail him at an uncomfortably short distance. When this happens, it seems he uses compression release engine brakes to discourage this behavior. This has been the most helpful comment translation I've ever encountered because I was straight up at a loss. Thank you. Anxiety is bedridden, you can't move. My anxiety can't stop moving. Restless leg syndrome, I guess. I assume restless leg syndrome is somehow an idle flight response to anxiousness. Oh, is that the anxiety? I just assumed I was a squirrel trapped in a guy's body, a very anxious squirrel. I agree. I get more impatient and agitated. More like ADHD or ADD. Arousal has extremely poor impulse control. No brain, I will not fuck that. Hey, come on, it kinda looks like a vagina. I won't tell anyone, I swear. Tells everyone later. Proceeds to fuck an ant hole. Make it a fire ant hole and you have a deal. Tickle tickle, I'm inside your pickle. Overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer. Prodigious size alone does not dissuade the sharpened blade. Size has no intrinsic merit unless inordinate exsanguination be considered a virtue. The bigger they are, the harder they bleed, ancestor. Size does have merits associated with it, though. Strength, for example. Heavier people tend to command more strength than lighter people. Also, in a melee, height is also reach, since the arms are longer. Fighting someone who is taller has also subconscious effects, mainly on confidence, that is both applicable to physical battles as well as mental ones. Edit. And this is a Darkest Dungeon reference, isn't it? Justice is also blind. But she can smell your fear. Justice may be blind, but she listens to the better lawyer. IDK about that, a good lawyer knows the law, but a great lawyer knows the judge. My friend's mom was a judge and every man in the court knew her, even me. In the biblical sense are. Jealousy is death. It's your own psyche that goes haywire, and nothing anyone will try to explain you make your fragile ego any more satisfied, and will interpret every attempt to rationalize your own biased emotions as part of the plan to get you distracted from what the jealousy has convinced you of. The scariest thing with a jealous person's spouse is that they will be convinced their intuition is on par, because they will argue their case with such much thought put into it that they simply won't believe you no matter what you tell them. I always told the truth, but every time my GF felt jealous, she'd make some mental gymnastics to validate her own suspicion. Incredibly exhausting to deal with and really frustrating when she obviously won't believe you no matter how truthful you are or what you do. I have never even been close to anything that can be remotely considered as cheating, yet I was interrogated at least daily. Sir, this is a Wendy's. Edit. Really assumed I would get like 5 upvoted, but thanks for silver. Passion leads to strength, strength leads to power, power leads to victory, and through victory your chains are broken. So passion breaks stuff. Wow, you recited the code of the Sith from Legends. 5 for those wondering, Sith code is canon still as Maul can be heard reciting it a couple of times in the Clone Wars. Love is blind. Hatred is obsessive compulsive. Excitement has restless leg syndrome. Boredom is numb. Arousal is an egregious lightweight. Impatience also has restless leg syndrome. Skepticism pretends to have restless leg syndrome, but everyone knows it's faking. Enthusiasm has ADHD. Sadness is allergic to peanuts. Panic has asthma. Fear is incontinent. You can try to avoid the allergen, but eventually it sneaks up on you and swells up in your throat until you can't fucking breathe. Not me, I'll slap a peanut. I love this comment. I clicked see more comments hoping to see this. Every SCP fan in a mile radius turns around. Rage is blind and indifferent, you're just out to vent and destroy, and it doesn't matter who and how. I've experienced a rage-fueled dissociative state that apparently lasted almost an hour. I don't remember what I said, and my sister tells me I broke the couch and some windows during the fit. I remember waking up feeling light and refreshed, but still a bit exhausted and my throat raw. I had slept for 16 hours straight. Luck was on my side too cause no one was injured, myself included, even though I was breaking windows. For like 2 months after that, I know for sure that my family was scared of me cause they were really nice and polite, walking on eggshells and the like. It was strange for me seeing them like that. I keep to myself mostly, even with my family, and I'm usually the quiet one not liking to be bothered and stubborn, so it must have been shocking for them to see. I may not remember what I did, but I certainly remember what triggered it. A week or so after, I sat down with the family and told them the why. People, family included, rarely pay heed to the words that come flying out of their mouths. It was an old hurt, but something that was still not easy for me to deal with, and for that reason I have never apologized for the incident. I don't let much anger me know, it's more like I don't talk about it, so I guess you could say it was about time. Depression is comatose, sweet comatose. But in a coma, you don't really experience anything. When paralyzed, you're completely aware of being unable to do anything, and doing something about that either feels impossible or is impossible by yourself. Some let it petrify them, and others let it rock them to sleep. Whatever the case may be, I hope that whoever is locked in right now finds the strength to be able to get back up. It doesn't have to be right now, but no, I'm rooting for you. I see what you mean, and agree. Not even comatose is sweet. It's just there. I don't know, man. Get yourself a couple deaf honey hags hitching some whale dangle at Chuck E. Cheese restroom, maybe change the way you make it. Gets me weak like maybe they only in it for selfish sorrow, or maybe they just want some mangle dangle with no judgment. I don't know precisely what you just said, but I feel like yeah, I agree with you. Chuck E. Cheese restrooms usually have some decent snacks. We find a lot of pizza dough crumbs in there, and on especially reverend days we happen upon shreds of melted cheese. Thankfully there is no judgment in a bathroom like Chuck E. Cheese. That really sounds like a rambling bit from Letterkenny. Anger has antisocial personality disorder, lacks all empathy and remorse. No, that would be rage. Nah, it's a metal item that you put things inside. Joke format demands you add a finish of what you were thinking of was other thing. No, the emotion is a tool to let you know when your boundaries are being crossed. The behavior resulting from that unchecked emotion can be antisocial. But that's why you should learn kids which behavior is appropriate with which emotion. Not learning kids this can result in antisocial humans, not enough healthy socialization in childhood. In fact, anger is a good emotion. It's not good to fuel it on purpose, but it gives you energy to defend, to stand straight for your own valuable self or for others. There are no negative emotions. They are signals of our body, mind and soul that something is happening. We should never ignore them. And the memory of emotions is more durable than diamonds. But isn't anger an expression of not feeling in control of something? Sure, if you have a safe outlet for it, play with it, but what's the point if you know where your anger stems from? I'm talking just about the feeling of anger. It's good to be aware of it and not neglect it. Of course, later comes acting upon this feeling, which can be good or bad. Rage. Anger is one thing, heck, anger is healthy. Rage is not. Cool, man. I like a rage too. You know what really gets me going? Shakers. Today I was at the salad bar, right? Doing my thing. I scoop the lettuce, the potatoes, the mayo. The poop bag next to me starts shaking his salad. Yay, that sucks. The other day I had a salad next to me, and it just started shaking its poop bag, like WTF. Hatred is senseless. Not totally senseless, maybe just anal blind. Senseless. Without senses. So blind, deaf, animistic, no taste, no touch. Mental retardation is though. Thanks for the demonstration. Justice may be blind, but she listens to the better lawyer. IDK about that, a good lawyer knows the law, but a great lawyer knows the judge. My friend's mom was a judge and every man in the court knew her, even me. In the biblical sense or? I knew her in the biblical sense, in that I didn't believe a fucking word she said. Anthony Jeselnik. Fear is paralyzing. Fear is irrational. Fight or flight or paralysis. Came to say exactly this. BTW, fear is the strongest emotion a human can sense. No other emotion can measure with fear. What fear does, no other emotion can do. It's paralyzing and messes with your brain and is blindsiding. Anxiety won't shut the hell up. Oh god, this is so true, I can relate to this more than I'd like to admit. Sounds about right. Just last night I had an anxiety attack about my airways closing up when it was just sinuses. Shutting the hell up isn't a disability. I feel like it should be. Or at least a sign of one. Ever get stuck in a conversation with someone that always on? Depression is paraplegic. Tries to stop you from walking forward. I used to say depression feels like my legs are tied. Now I'm not even sure I have legs anymore. Being paraplegic doesn't try to stop you, it just does. LMAO. Yeah, muscular dystrophy would probably work better. As someone with chronic pain, I often feel more hamstring than someone who's missing a leg, but not in pain. Speaking of which, that reminds me of this clip.
Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Tell me what you dislike or love about this video, so please comment below and hit the bell icon so you're notified anytime a new video is released. This is a WeCrow Media production.